The Bermuda Triangle. Let us turn our attention to a place that has become more legend than location. A story whispered on the waves. The story of the Bermuda Triangle. It rests in the western Atlantic, a vast, loose triangle of sea between the tip of Florida, the islands of Bermuda, and the shores of Puerto Rico. On any ordinary map, it is simply blue water and shipping lanes. But in our collective imagination, it is a place where things quietly disappear. The stories are well known, of course. Tales of ships and planes that sailed into good weather and simply vanished. No distress call, no wreckage, no explanation. The sea and the sky simply swallowed them whole. We can focus on the most famous mystery, Flight 19. A squadron of 5 U.S. Navy bombers on a routine training mission in 1945. They were experienced pilots. The weather was clear. And then their compasses began to spin. Their radios crackled with confusion. The flight leader was heard saying, "We cannot be sure of any direction. Everything is wrong, strange." And then silence. A rescue plane sent to find them also vanished without a trace. Not a single piece was ever found. It is easy to let the mind conjure shadows, to imagine portals to other dimensions, or fields of strange energy that disrupt time and space, to picture underwater cities of lost civilizations, or the pull of some unknowable force. But let us consider a different kind of mystery, a quieter one, the mystery of the deep ocean itself. For the sea floor here is not a smooth, sandy plain. It is one of the deepest places on our planet. There are vast trenches that plunge down for miles, deeper than the tallest mountains on land reach into the sky. A ship or a plane, lost to some more mundane tragedy, a sudden storm, a mechanical failure, could settle into one of these lightless, crushing depths. And the ocean currents, there are powerful, relentless, capable of scattering debris across 1,000 miles of abyss, or burying it forever in the silt. There is another factor, a scientific curiosity that takes none of the wonder away. This area is one of the few places on Earth where a magnetic compass points to true north rather than magnetic north. For most of the world, the difference is small. A correction pilots and sailors make automatically. But here, in this specific zone, that compass can be subtly, dangerously misleading. To a navigator who does not account for it, it would feel as if the very laws of nature had gently come undone. So we are left with a choice of mysteries. The dramatic or the profound? Is it a place of supernatural forces? Or is it simply a reminder of the immense, quiet power of the natural world? A place where a deep ocean, complex weather, and the subtle quirks of our planet's magnetism converge to create a perfect story. Perhaps the true comfort of the Bermuda Triangle is not in solving its riddle, but in accepting it. It reminds us that our world, for all our charts and satellites, still holds vast, quiet spaces, spaces where the map still says, "Here be dragons." And in that vast, unknowable blue, there is a strange and soothing peace, a permission to simply let go of the need to know everything. And so the triangle remains, not as a threat, but as a lullaby of the deep, a gentle hum of mystery from the dark, quiet depths of the world. The Voynich Manuscript. Let us contemplate one of history's most elegant and enduring puzzles. Not a place on a map, but an object, a book, known as the Voynich Manuscript. It is a codex of over 200 vellum pages, filled from edge to edge with writing in an unknown alphabet, accompanied by illustrations of plants that do not exist and celestial charts that map no known sky. For centuries, it has resisted every attempt to be read. It is a book of secrets that refuses to give up a single one. Imagine holding it, feeling the weight of its mystery in your hands. The text flows from left to right, in a graceful looping script that looks familiar, like a cousin to medieval Latin, yet remains completely unintelligible. It is not a simple cipher. It possesses all the complex statistical patterns of a real language, with words and sentences that follow their own internal, unknowable rules. It is a language of one, a solitary, self-contained universe of meaning. The illustrations only deepen the tranquility of its mystery. There are pages upon pages of delicate, unfamiliar botanicals, herbs and flowers with roots like twisted threads and leaves in impossible spirals. They are rendered with such care, such botanical precision, that you feel the artist must have been looking at something real. Yet these species grow in no forest, no garden on earth. Then there are the diagrams, tubes and vessels that resemble a human body, but one mapped according to an alien anatomy, and fold out pages of constellations, galaxies of tiny stars connected by ribbons of nude figures, bathing in what seems to be a system of celestial plumbing. Who created it? A brilliant, lonely alchemist, charting the landscape of his dreams, a hoaxer of unparalleled patience and skill, weaving a tapestry of nonsense that would captivate generations. Or is it a pharmacopoeia from a lost world, a guide to the botany of a forgotten dimension? The most advanced code breakers from 2 world wars have applied their minds to it. Supercomputers have analyzed its patterns, and still its pages keep their silence. Perhaps its purpose was never to be solved in the way we solve an equation. Perhaps its true value lies not in the content of its message, but in the simple, profound fact of its existence. It is a testament to the human desire to create meaning, to record something, even if that something is meant only for oneself or for a reader who will never come. It is a monument to the beauty of the unanswered question, a lullaby of the unsolvable, so we can simply appreciate it as a work of art, a beautiful object that gives us permission to not know, to rest in the quiet, humming space of a mystery that asks nothing of us but our wonder. It is the world's most perfect secret, a book that whispers to us in a language of pure, soothing ambiguity forever. The Antikythera Mechanism. Let us drift back through time to the quiet depths of the Aegean Sea, to the year 1900, when sponge divers exploring a Roman shipwreck near the island of Antikythera brought up a lump of corroded bronze and wood. It seemed like junk, encrusted by centuries of sea life, but it would turn out to be one of the most astonishing objects ever recovered from the ancient world. They called it the Antikythera Mechanism. For decades, it sat in a museum, a perplexing curiosity. Then slowly, with the aid of X-rays and advanced imaging, its secrets began to emerge. This was no mere statue or pot. It was a machine, a complex clockwork of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, precisely cut and mounted within a wooden case. On its front and back were dials, pointers, and inscriptions. It was, in essence, an ancient analog computer. Imagine holding this device, turning a hand crank on its side, and as you do, the gears begin to turn. The pointers on the dials start to move, not to tell the hour, but to predict the dance of the heavens. One hand tracks the sun, another the moon, showing its phase. It could predict eclipses with remarkable accuracy. It could even model the irregular orbit of the moon, a complexity we would not see again in a mechanism for over 1,000 years. Some researchers believe it could show the positions of the 5 known planets, a moving model of the entire known cosmos, all contained within a box the size of a large book. This was not built by primitive minds. It was built by genius, a level of scientific and engineering sophistication that historians once believed was impossible for its time, over 2,000 years ago. It speaks of a lost lineage of Greek science, a tradition of intricate craftsmanship and deep cosmic understanding that simply vanished from the historical record. The ship that carried it was a treasure galley, likely carrying spoils from Greece to Rome. And this mechanism, this pinnacle of knowledge, was lost to the sea. So we are left with a profound and comforting thought. This complex computer was not the beginning of something. It was, in all likelihood, the peak of something, the culmination of a long-forgotten tradition of technology. It hints at a golden age of mechanics, of which this single, salvaged device is the only surviving whisper. It reminds us that knowledge is not always a straight, ascending line. Sometimes it is a cycle. A beautiful idea can be born, can flourish in exquisite complexity, and can then be lost to the depths for centuries, waiting patiently to be found again. It is a quiet testament to the timeless human desire to understand the clockwork of the universe and to build a machine that can, in the palm of your hand, make its gentle, predictable turning visible. The Nazca Lines. Let us journey to the high desert of southern Peru, a landscape of stark and windswept plains bounded by rugged hills. From the ground, it is a canvas of reddish-brown pebbles scoured by a dry, relentless sun. But if you were to rise above it, to look down from the perspective of a bird or a cloud, you would see the mystery. Etched into the earth are the Nazca Lines. These are not small markings. They are geoglyphs created by the ancient Nazca people between 500 BCE and 500 CE by simply removing the dark surface stones to reveal the lighter colored earth beneath. But their scale is almost incomprehensible. Straight lines run for miles, perfectly arrow straight across the broken terrain. There are vast geometric shapes, trapezoids, triangles, and spirals that could swallow a city block. And then there are the figures. A hummingbird with wings outstretched, so large you could walk for minutes along just one of its feathers. A spider with a body the size of a house. A monkey with a gracefully coiled tail. These are drawings on a planetary scale, intended not for the human eye at the surface, but for a viewer high above. How did they create such precise, massive designs without being able to see their full form? The answer is likely one of simple, patient engineering. They may have used small-scale models and a system of stakes and ropes to scale up the designs, a testament to a deep understanding of geometry and proportion. They worked with the stable, rainless climate, knowing their art would be preserved for centuries by the dry, still air. But the why is the softer, more intriguing mystery. They were not signals for gods or landing strips for ancient astronauts, as some fanciful tales suggest. The truth is likely more beautiful, more human. They were almost certainly a form of ritual pathway, a sacred landscape. The long, straight lines may have been walked upon during ceremonies, a physical journey mirroring a spiritual one. The animal figures were likely representations of deities connected to water and fertility, desperate prayers to the gods for life-giving rain in an arid land. They were a way for a people to inscribe their faith, their pleas, and their identity onto the very body of the earth itself. And so the lines remain. They have endured not because of alien intervention, but because of a perfect quiet harmony with their environment. The lack of rain, the stability of the soil, the constant wind that cleans but does not erode. They are a collaboration between human intention and a forgiving climate. They ask us to shift our perspective, to see that a prayer can be a mile-long monkey, that a ritual can be a line you walk for hours. They are a reminder that the grandest expressions of human belief are often not vertical, reaching for the skies, but horizontal, drawn with infinite patience upon the enduring skin of the world, a vast, silent, and soothing lullaby written on the desert floor. The Tunguska Event. Let us travel in our minds to a remote, silent corner of Siberia, to a place near the Podkamenaya Tunguska River. For centuries, it was a vast, peaceful expanse of boreal forest, where the only sounds were the wind in the pine trees and the calls of distant wildlife. But on the morning of June 30th, 1908, that silence was broken in a way that still whispers to us of cosmic mysteries. It began with a light in the sky, a blue-white fireball, as bright as a second sun, moving rapidly from the southeast. Minutes later, the world exploded. A flash of heat scorched the land, followed by a shockwave of sound that was heard hundreds of miles away. A seismic rumble registered on instruments as far away as England. The force of the blast was immense, flattening over 800 square miles of ancient forest. Trees were felled in a radial pattern, like matchsticks thrown down by a giant's hand, all pointing away from a silent, unseen center. For nights that followed, the skies across Europe and Asia glowed with a strange ethereal light, so bright that people could read newspapers outdoors at midnight. Yet when the first scientific expedition reached the site, 19 years later, they found no crater, no smoking ruin, no piece of some alien spacecraft, just this vast, silent circle of fallen trees, all pointing outward, and a few small, scorched trees still standing at the very center. It was as if a tremendous invisible fist had punched down from the heavens, leaving only this ghostly imprint on the land. So what was it? The most soothing explanation, the one that fits the quiet evidence, is not an explosion, but an implosion of air. The leading theory suggests a relatively small asteroid or comet, perhaps only 100 feet across, entered Earth's atmosphere at a shallow angle. It did not strike the ground. Instead, it traveled through the thickening air, moving at tens of thousands of miles per hour. The pressure and heat became too great, and a few miles above the remote sleeping forest, it detonated in a blinding, incandescent flash of light and energy, a vast celestial fireball that released the power of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs without ever touching the Earth. There is a profound and humbling comfort in this. The Tunguska Event was a reminder of the quiet, ongoing ballet of our solar system, a piece of ancient, wandering ice and rock, a leftover from the formation of the planets, simply crossed our path. It was a random meeting in the vastness of space, a single, dramatic note in a silent cosmic symphony. It caused no lasting harm, claiming no human lives in that desolate place. It serves as a gentle, if powerful testament to the forces that move, unseen above us. A reminder that our world exists within a dynamic system where sometimes the sky simply sighs. And in that sigh, we are reminded of the immense, quiet, and predictable forces of the universe, of which we are merely a small and fortunate part. The Mary Celeste. Let us set our minds adrift on the calm, blue expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. The date is December 5th, 1872. A ship, the Dei Gratia, sights another vessel, a beautiful two-masted brigantine, drifting aimlessly under partial sail. They signal her. There is no reply. Drawing closer, they see her name, the Mary Celeste. They board her, expecting to find a crew in distress. Instead, they find silence, a profound and absolute quiet, broken only by the creak of the timbers and the gentle lapping of waves against the hull. The ship is perfectly seaworthy, her cargo of industrial alcohol still securely stored in her hold. There is a 6-month supply of food and fresh water. The personal belongings of the captain and crew are untouched in their quarters. On the captain's desk, The ship's logbook lies open, its last entry noting a position days earlier and nothing amiss. But the lifeboat is gone. The 10 people who were on board, Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and a crew of 7, have vanished without a trace. There is no sign of a struggle, no violence, no hastily scrawled note of explanation. It is as if they simply stepped off the ship into the sea. The Mary Celeste was found as a ghost ship, not through decay or disaster, but through an eerie, pristine absence. What could have prompted such a sudden, orderly, and yet complete abandonment? The mystery has spawned 1,000 tales of sea monsters and pirate attacks, of alien abductions and vengeful spirits. But the truth is likely far more mundane, and in its way, far more compelling. It was almost certainly a cascade of human error, born of rational fear. Perhaps a foul smell rose from the cargo hold, a warning sign that the alcohol barrels were leaking, building up volatile, invisible fumes. The captain, fearing an imminent and catastrophic explosion, may have given the order to temporarily abandon ship in the single lifeboat, tethering it securely to the Mary Celeste with a strong rope. They would have waited at a safe distance for the danger to pass, but then the weather, which can change in an instant at sea. A sudden squall, a rogue wave, the rope connecting them to their ship, their home, their only real hope, could have snapped. Or the ship, under her partial sail, could have simply drifted away faster than the overloaded lifeboat could follow. The crew would have watched in horror as their means of salvation sailed on without them, leaving them alone in a vast ocean in a small open boat, a fate from which there was no return. So the Mary Celeste was not haunted by ghosts, but by a single tragic decision, a precaution that became a death sentence. It is a story not of the supernatural, but of the immense and unforgiving power of the sea, and the fragile line that separates safety from catastrophe. It is a lullaby of the deep, a reminder of the quiet, respectable fear that every sailor must carry in their heart, and the profound, enduring mystery of a single empty ship found sailing herself perfectly across a silent sea. The Dancing Plague of 1518. Let us journey back to the heat of a Strasbourg summer in the year 1518. The air is thick and still, and in the city's central square, a woman named Frau Trophea steps out of her home and begins to dance, not a dance of joy or celebration, but a frantic, compulsive, and relentless movement. She dances alone for days, her feet bleeding, her body exhausted, unable to stop. This was the beginning of the dancing plague. Within a week, dozens had joined her. In a month, the number swelled to over 400 people, all caught in the same uncontrollable compulsion to dance. The city council, alarmed and bewildered, did what they thought would help. They cleared the squares, built special wooden stages, hired musicians to play pipes and drums, and even brought in professional dancers to keep the afflicted moving. They believed the mania needed to be danced out of the system, that to stop was to risk death. The scene was a surreal spectacle of public suffering, set to music. And people did die. They collapsed from heart attacks, from strokes, from sheer unending exhaustion. Their bodies simply gave out under the strain of this endless, merciless dance. What caused this? For centuries, it was seen as a mass curse or a divine punishment, but the truth is likely a far more profound and human story. The years preceding 1518 in Strasbourg were marked by immense suffering. Famine had stalked the land. Crop failures had led to widespread starvation. Sickness and disease were rampant. The people lived under a crushing weight of existential fear and spiritual despair. In such an environment, the mind seeks a release, a physical cathartic expression for an unspeakable collective trauma. Modern historians and psychologists suggest this was a case of mass psychogenic illness, a form of mass hysteria. It was a societal nervous breakdown, a fever dream of the body, manifesting the anxieties of the mind. The dancing was not a disease in itself, but a symptom, a terrible physical scream from a populace that had no other way to express its profound distress. So, the dancing plague of 1518 stands not as a bizarre historical oddity, but as a poignant, silent testament to the power of the human psyche. It shows us how deeply our minds and bodies are intertwined, and how collective suffering can sometimes find a voice in the most unexpected and tragic of ways. It is a reminder that the most compelling mysteries are not always about what is unknown in the world around us, but about the vast, uncharted, and deeply powerful landscapes within us. A silent, desperate ballet performed not for an audience, but as an involuntary physical plea for release from a pain that had no other name. The wow signal now. Let us turn our gaze upward, away from the terrestrial, and into the deep, silent ocean of space. It is August 15th, 1977. At the Big Ear Radio Telescope in Ohio, a volunteer named Jerry Amon is sifting through reams of computer printout, the long paper record of the sky's endless quiet hiss. The telescope is pointed toward a cluster of stars in the constellation Sagittarius, listening for nothing in particular. And then Amon's eye catches something, a string of alphanumeric code so startling, so perfectly aligned with what they were searching for, that he circles it in red pen and writes beside it a single breathless word: wow, the wow signal. It was a narrowband radio burst, a focused shout in a universe of whispers. It lasted for exactly 72 seconds, the precise duration the Big Ear telescope could hold a fixed point in the sky. It was over 1,000,000 times stronger than the background noise of space, and it came from a region of the sky with no known planets or stars. For that one brief, perfect minute and 12 seconds, it was everything we had ever hoped to find. A signal that fit all the predicted criteria for a transmission from an intelligent extraterrestrial source. And then it was gone. It never repeated. Despite decades of listening, of pointing the most powerful radio dishes on Earth toward that same patch of dark sky, the silence has been absolute. No second word, no follow-up. Only that one, elegant and profoundly lonely, exclamation point in the cosmic record. What was it? A natural phenomenon we still do not understand? A human-made signal reflected off a piece of space debris? Or was it perhaps exactly what it seemed? A single, fleeting message. A cosmic hello that traveled for tens of thousands of years, brushed past our listening ear, and then faded back into the eternal quiet from which it came. There is a deep and abiding comfort in its singularity. It asks nothing of us. It demands no response, no panic, no grand invasion fleet. It is simply a piece of data, a single data point in the vast, dark unknown. It is the universe reminding us that we are listening, and that for one moment we may have heard something. It is the possibility of a companion in the void, a silent neighbor who, like us, may have once looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone was there. The wow signal is not a mystery to be solved, but a moment to be cherished, a solitary, beautiful note held for 72 seconds in the great, silent symphony of the cosmos, a gentle hum from the darkness, a reminder that the universe is vast, quiet, and full of possibilities we may only glimpse once. The Phaistos disk. Now, let your mind wander to the sun-baked island of Crete, to the ruins of the ancient Minoan palace of Phaistos. It is the year 1908, and archaeologists are sifting through the dust of millennia in a basement room. There, nestled in the ashes of a furnace, they find a small, round tablet of fired clay, about the size of a small plate. This is the Phaistos disk, and it is unlike anything else ever found. Its surface is covered on both sides with a spiral of beautiful, intricate symbols, a total of 241 impressions, made by pressing 45 distinct seals into the soft clay before it was baked. There are figures of men with feathered headdresses walking. There are ships with tall masts. There are birds in flight, fish, flowers, and a bewildering array of geometric shapes. It is a message, a text, but it is written in a language and a script that is utterly unknown, a code that has resisted decipherment for over a century. Imagine holding it, feeling the cool, smooth clay, tracing the spiral with your finger. You are holding a complete, self-contained document from a lost world. It is not a fragment. It is not a worn inscription on a wall. It is a portable, deliberate, and beautifully crafted piece of writing. And we have no idea what it says. Is it a prayer? A hymn to a forgotten goddess? Is it a royal proclamation from a Minoan king? Could it be a story, an epic poem about a hero's journey, spiraling inward to its conclusion? Or is it something more mundane, an inventory of palace goods, a list of offerings? The very fact that the symbols were stamped, not carved, suggests a form of early printing, a concept that would not reappear for another 3,000 years. This alone makes the disc a breathtaking anomaly. Some have called it a forgery, but the consensus is that it is genuine. Its mystery is real. And so we are left with its silent physical presence. It does not whisper its secrets. It simply is. It is a perfect closed system of meaning, a universe of intent contained within a circle of clay. There is a profound peace in this unsolvable riddle. The Phaistos disk asks for nothing. It does not need to be solved to be appreciated. Its value lies not in the information it contains, but in its mere existence. It is a gift from the past that requires no return. We can simply marvel at its intricate beauty, at the human hands that so carefully pressed each symbol, and at the mind that conceived of a message that could travel through time, not with its meaning, but with its mystery intact. It is a lullaby from the ancient world, a soft, circular whisper that reminds us some stories are meant not to be read, but to be dreamt upon. Stonehenge. Of all the ancient mysteries that dot our landscape, perhaps none is more iconic or more quietly imposing than the great stone circle on the Salisbury Plain. Stonehenge, a ring of massive weathered sarsen stones, some crowned with lintels, standing in silent congregation under the vast English sky. For centuries, it has captured our imagination. How did a prehistoric people, without the wheel or metal tools, transport these colossal stones, some weighing over 25 tons, from quarries nearly 20 miles away? And why? Why commit such staggering effort over generations to raise this architecture of giants? The how is a story of incredible ingenuity and patience. The smaller inner bluestones were hauled from mountains in Wales, a journey of over 150 miles. It is believed they were moved on wooden sledges and rollers along a route of greased logs by hundreds of people working in unison. A slow, relentless procession, a testament to a shared, unwavering purpose. The larger sarsens were then shaped using stone hammers, and the iconic lintels were fixed in place with complex joints, a woodworking technique executed in unyielding stone. But the why is where the true soothing mystery lies. We know it was a place of burial for centuries, but its grand design speaks to a deeper function. The structure is a perfect astronomical clock. At the summer solstice, The sun rises directly over the heel stone, and its rays shine into the very heart of the circle. It marks the winter solstice with equal precision. This was not a temple built for a king, but a cathedral built for the cosmos. It was a place where a farming people could mark the turning of the year, to know when to plant and when to harvest. It was a place to honor the dead and to commune with the eternal cycles of the sun and moon. The immense effort was an act of faith, faith in the predictable rhythm of the universe and in their place within it. So Stonehenge stands not as a riddle of alien architects, but as a monument to human cooperation and cosmic wonder. It is a sanctuary of stone built by a people who looked to the heavens and saw not chaos but order, a predictable, beautiful order that they could capture here on this windswept plain. It is a reminder that our deepest need is to find meaning in the turning of the world. And as the sun continues to rise over those silent stones, as it has for millennia, we can feel a connection to those ancient builders and share in their quiet, enduring awe at the reliable, gentle machinery of the sky. The Dyatlov Pass incident. Let us journey to the cold, a place of deep winter silence, to the Ural Mountains of Russia, and a slope known to the indigenous Mansi people as Kholat Syakhl, the Mountain of the Dead. It is here, in February of 1959, that a story unfolded that has become a whisper on the wind, a chilling puzzle known as the Dyatlov Pass incident. A group of 9 experienced student hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, pitched their tent on that snowy mountainside. They were strong, skilled, and prepared for the harsh conditions, but something happened that night, something that caused them to frantically cut their way out from inside their tent and flee into the sub-zero temperatures, some without their boots, some without their coats. When searchers found their tent days later, it was a scene of eerie stillness. The tent was still standing, filled with their belongings, warm clothes, food, diaries, but the hikers were gone. Their tracks in the snow told a desperate story. Bare feet, a single sock, leading down the slope into the dark trees. The bodies were found scattered, some by a small cedar tree, others farther away, trying to return to the tent. They had died from hypothermia, but the mystery deepened. 2 of the hikers had massive internal chest injuries, as if struck by a tremendous force, yet without a single broken bone on the outside. 1 was missing her tongue. The official inquest concluded they had met a compelling natural force. But what force? Theories have swirled for decades, like the Arctic snow, avalanches, secret military tests, or even something more fearful and unknown. Yet the most soothing explanation, the one that brings a strange and tragic order to the chaos, may lie in a rare and predictable phenomenon. A type of avalanche, a slab of wind-hardened snow that can release with a sudden suffocating pressure. It would not bury them, but the shock wave could have been the compelling force that caused the chest trauma and terrified them into flight. In their panicked state, disoriented in the blinding dark, hypothermia would have clouded their judgment, leading to the paradoxical undressing often seen in its final stages. The Dyatlov Pass incident, then, is not necessarily a supernatural horror, but a profound tragedy, a reminder of the immense and quiet power of the natural world, and how a cascade of small, unforeseen events, a strange sound in the night, a sudden shift in the snow, the slow creep of cold into the mind, can lead to an irreversible outcome. It is a lullaby of respect for the wild, a story that asks us to listen to the mountain's silence and to remember that sometimes the most compelling force is simply nature itself in its most powerful and indifferent mood. The Oak Island Money Pit, nestled off the coast of Nova Scotia, shrouded in the misty embrace of the North Atlantic, lies a small, unassuming island named Oak. For over 2 centuries, this peaceful patch of land has been the stage for one of the world's most enduring and methodical treasure hunts. It all begins, as the best stories do, with a single discovery. In 1795, a young man named Daniel McGinnis noticed a peculiar circular depression in the ground, and above it, an old ship's tackle block hanging from the limb of an oak tree. Believing it to be a sign, he and his friends began to dig. And so the legend of the money pit was born. What they found, just a few feet down, was a layer of flagstones not native to the island. 10 feet further, a platform of solid oak logs set firmly into the walls of the shaft. 20 feet down, another platform, and then another at 30 feet. It was clear this was no natural formation. This was something that had been built with immense effort and precision by human hands, and it was designed to protect something. As the decades turned into centuries, the pit revealed its defenses, each one a new chapter in its intricate story. At 90 feet, they uncovered a large, flat stone, inscribed with mysterious symbols. Later, they would hit a layer of coconut fiber, acting as a natural drain, and then a flood trap. Tunnels from the nearby ocean would rush in, filling any excavation with seawater, foiling every attempt to reach the bottom. The very earth seemed to be guarding its secret. What could possibly warrant such an elaborate, deep-built vault? The theories are a quiet litany of historical whispers. Is it the lost treasure of the Knights Templar? The missing royal jewels of France? Could it be the hidden manuscripts of Francis Bacon? Or even the final resting place of Blackbeard the pirate? Each theory is a thread in a grand, unsolved tapestry. Yet perhaps the true treasure of Oak Island is not what lies at the bottom of the pit, but the story of the pit itself. It is a monument to human curiosity, to the unwavering belief that a mystery can be solved. For over 200 years, generation after generation has been drawn to this island, not by greed, but by the gentle, persistent pull of the unknown. They have dug and drilled, searched and studied, all in pursuit of an answer. And so, the money pit endures. Not as a frustrating dead end, but as a slow, patient lullaby of possibility. It is a reminder that some journeys are not about the destination, but about the quiet, determined act of searching. It is the comfort of an unanswered question, a secret the earth is not yet ready to give up, inviting us to simply dream about what wonders might still lie, waiting patiently in the dark, deep below the roots of an old oak tree. The Rongorongo Script. Let us travel to one of the most remote inhabited islands on Earth, a solitary volcanic speck in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is known to the world for its enigmatic towering moai statues, their stone gazes fixed upon the horizon. But the island holds another, even more elusive secret, a secret not carved in stone, but inscribed upon wood. This is the mystery of the Rongorongo Script. In the 1860s, after the outside world had made contact with the island, European missionaries discovered something astonishing. In the possession of the islanders were wooden tablets, staffs, and even a chieftain's breastplate, covered in tiny, finely carved characters, glyphs of birds, fish, plants, and geometric shapes, arranged in a precise, alternating sequence, line after line. The indigenous people called this writing Kohau Rongorongo, lines for recitation. It was a written language, unique and complex, born in complete isolation. Tragically, the key to understanding it was lost, almost as soon as it was found. The social collapse of Rapa Nui, brought on by disease and slave raids, meant that the last wise men who could read the script perished, taking their knowledge with them. The tablets fell silent. Today, only 26 of these artifacts survive, scattered in museums around the world, their messages locked away. What stories do these intricate lines hold? They are not simple pictographs. The glyphs are standardized and combined in patterns that suggest a true writing system, perhaps a form of proto-writing that recorded genealogy, creation chants, or navigational lore. Some researchers believe the texts are a tangible memory of the island's own history, a chronicle of the great canoe voyages that brought the first Polynesians to its shores. They may be hymns to the gods who guided them, or laments for the forests that were felled. The profound silence of Rongorongo is what makes it so deeply compelling. It is a library without a translator, a symphony with no one left who can read the notes. Each tablet is a closed book, a self-contained universe of meaning that we can see but cannot hear. And so we are left with the quiet beauty of the glyphs themselves. The graceful curve of a frigate bird, the precise angle of a dancing figure. The Rongorongo script does not demand to be solved. It simply asks to be contemplated. It is a whisper from a lost world, a final elegant testament to the human urge to make a mark, to record a thought, to send a message across the generations. It is a lullaby in a lost language, reminding us that some knowledge is not meant to be possessed, but only to be wondered at, a gentle and humbling mystery from the world's most remote library. The Tao's hum. Now, let us turn our attention inward to a mystery not of ancient artifacts or distant stars, but of personal perception, a phenomenon known as the Tao's hum. In the high desert air of Taos, New Mexico, and in other quiet communities around the world, a small percentage of people report hearing a sound. It is not a loud, crashing noise, but something far more subtle and persistent, a low-frequency hum, a steady rumbling drone, like a distant diesel engine idling forever just over the horizon. What makes the Tao's hum so intriguing is its selectivity. For most people, the world is silent, but for the hearers, the sound is an inescapable part of their reality. It is a private concert of one, a vibration that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. It is often heard more clearly indoors, especially at night, when the world is at its quietest, making it a frequent, unwelcome companion in the hour of rest. Scientists have listened. They have placed sensitive microphones throughout the town of Taos, searching for the source, and yet they have found nothing. No objective, recordable sound matches what the hearers describe. This has led to a fascinating divide, not between people, but between experience and measurement. So where does the hum reside? Is it an external physical vibration, too low for most human ears to register, but amplified for some by the unique acoustics of their own skull? Or does the source lie within, a phenomenon known as tinnitus, where the brain generates its own sound to fill a silence it cannot abide? Perhaps it is a heightened sensitivity to the planet's own quiet rhythms, the hum of seismic activity far below, or the endless, low-frequency pressure of the atmosphere itself. The true comfort of the Tao's hum lies not in solving it, but in accepting its gentle paradox. It is a reminder that our perception of reality is deeply personal, a unique blend of the external world and the internal workings of our own minds. The hum is a boundary phenomenon, existing in the space between the world and the self. For those who hear it, it is a real and present sound. For science, it is a question mark. It teaches us that the world is not always as it seems, and that our own senses can be the source of our most intimate mysteries. The Tao's hum is a lullaby of the mind, a soft internal drone that invites us to listen not just to the world around us, but to the quiet, mysterious landscape within. It is the sound of your own consciousness, humming its solitary, soothing note in the dark. The lost city of Atlantis. Let us now turn our minds to the oldest and most enduring of all legends, a story that has drifted for millennia like a phantom continent through the seas of human imagination. The story of Atlantis. It begins with the philosopher Plato, over 2,000 years ago. In his dialogues, the Timaeus and the Critias, he tells a story of a magnificent island empire, a utopia of immense power and advanced culture. He describes a great city, built in concentric rings of land and water, with splendid palaces, bridges, and temples sheathed in a mysterious metal called orichalcum. The Atlanteans were a noble people, wise and just, living in harmony for generations. But as time passed, Plato tells us, their divine nature faded. They became corrupted by pride and power. They grew greedy and aggressive, seeking to conquer the lands around them. And so the gods who had favored them delivered a terrible judgment. In a single day and night of fire and earthquakes, the entire island was swallowed by the sea, vanishing forever beneath the waves. It was a moral lesson, a parable about the fall of hubris. And with that, Atlantis sank from history and into myth. For centuries, scholars, explorers, and dreamers have searched for its ghost. Some place it in the Mediterranean, near the island of Santorini, where a massive volcanic eruption did indeed destroy the Minoan civilization. Others look to the Azores in the Atlantic, or to the Bahamas, or even to Antarctica. Each theory weaves its own tapestry of evidence from geology and archaeology, trying to pin a real location to a philosopher's tale. But the profound and soothing truth of Atlantis may be that it was never meant to be found. It is not a place to be excavated, but an idea to be contemplated. It is the archetype of every lost civilization, the ghost of every golden age that lives in our collective memory. It represents our deep-seated belief that greatness once was, and that it was lost through human folly. It is a cautionary whisper from the past, reminding us of the fragile balance between civilization and nature, between wisdom and power. Atlantis, therefore, is never truly lost. It exists wherever we dream of a perfect society, and wherever we fear its collapse. It is a lullaby of a sunken world, a gentle, melancholic story we tell ourselves about the rise and fall of empires and the enduring, cyclical nature of human ambition. So let the waves keep their secret, for the greatest power of Atlantis is not in its discovery, but in its endless, quiet invitation to wonder. The Baghdad Battery. Now, let us turn our minds to a small, unassuming clay jar discovered in the sands near Baghdad. It stands no more than a hand's span high, a simple artifact from the Parthian era, nearly 2,000 years old. But this jar contains a mystery that quietly challenges our understanding of the ancient world. It is known as the Baghdad Battery. The jar itself is a terracotta pot, sealed with an asphalt stopper. Through this stopper, an iron rod was inserted, surrounded by a copper cylinder. The arrangement is simple, almost elegant, and to any modern eye, it bears a striking, undeniable resemblance to a simple galvanic cell, a primitive battery. The theory is as captivating as it is serene. If the jar were filled with an acidic or alkaline liquid, vinegar or grape juice perhaps, it would create a chemical reaction between the two different metals. A subtle flow of electrons, a small but measurable electric current. A quiet, invisible power contained within a potter's vessel. What would an ancient artisan have done with such a power? The most plausible and poetic suggestion is electroplating. A gentle current could be used to deposit a thin layer of gold or silver onto the surface of a less precious metal, like a statue or a piece of jewelry. It would be a form of magic, transforming the mundane into the magnificent through an unseen force. Other theories suggest it may have been used for medicinal purposes, a gentle tingle to soothe aching muscles, a technology perceived not as science, but as mystery. Of course, skepticism exists. It could have been a simple storage jar for sacred scrolls, the iron and copper merely the remains of a long decayed scroll holder. The truth is, we may never know its true purpose for certain, but the enduring comfort of the Baghdad battery lies not in proving its function, but in the beautiful possibility it represents. It hints at a path not taken, a spark of knowledge that may have flickered briefly in the ancient world before being extinguished by time. It suggests that the curiosity to tinker, to experiment, to harness the subtle forces of nature is a timeless human impulse. So this humble clay jar is more than an artifact. It is a quiet reminder that discovery is not always a linear path, that knowledge can be found, lost, and found again. It invites us to imagine an ancient workshop where a craftsperson, by chance or by brilliant intuition, first witnessed the miracle of a current flowing, a small spark in the dark, a secret whispered between copper and iron, a gentle power waiting patiently in a clay pot for 2,000 years to ignite our wonder once more. The Shroud of Turin. Let us contemplate a piece of linen, a simple ancient cloth, but this is no ordinary textile. It is the Shroud of Turin, one of the most studied, debated, and revered objects in the world. It is a long, narrow herringbone weave, faintly imprinted with the ghostly double image of a crucified man. A front view and a back view, lying head to head, as if a body had been laid within it. The image is not painted. It is a subtle, sepia-toned stain on the very topmost fibers of the thread, a phenomenon science has never been able to perfectly replicate. The details are hauntingly precise. The wounds of crucifixion are visible in the wrists and feet. The marks of a scourging cover the back, and a puncture wound appears on the right side of the chest. It is for many a silent witness to a profound story of suffering. The great mystery, of course, is its origin. How was this image created? In 1988, radiocarbon dating of a small sample pointed to a medieval origin from the 13th or 14th century. This seemed to solve the puzzle, suggesting it was an elaborate, if inexplicable, forgery. Yet the question didn't end there. Critics noted the sample may have been from a later repair, woven into the original cloth. The image itself remains an enigma, its formation a subject of quiet, ongoing study. Some propose a natural chemical reaction between the linen and the gases emitted by a body, a slow development over time. Others speak of a burst of energy, a fleeting radiant light that somehow transferred the image onto the cloth. We may never know the precise mechanism, but perhaps the true power of the shroud lies beyond the realm of carbon dating and chemical analysis. Its enduring fascination is not solely about its authenticity as a historical relic, but about its authenticity as a mirror for human faith and curiosity. For centuries, it has been a focal point for contemplation, a tangible object that allows millions to connect with a story of sacrifice and hope on a deeply personal level. It is, in the end, a silent question woven into cloth. It does not shout its answers. It simply exists, inviting us to project our own beliefs, our own search for meaning, onto its faint and mysterious impression. The Shroud of Turin is a lullaby of faith and mystery, a soft linen canvas that holds the gentle, enduring image of a question mark, allowing each of us to find our own peace in its silent, timeless gaze.